If you're in your 20s or 30s, you're probably thinking and worrying about money. And it's understandable. The job market is rough. Salaries are depreciating. Student debt loads are at an all-time high in most countries. And housing costs, whether you rent or buy, are eating up a bigger chunk of paychecks than ever before. So while the idea of sitting down to watch a video on personal finance may not be high on your bucket list, it should be. Here's the good news. Getting your financial life in order is very doable if you start now. All you need is a modest amount of knowledge and a little effort. And that's what this video will give you. So click the button and let's get down to business. 1. Insure yourself against financial ruin. Health insurance is like a shield. It keeps you safe when an accident or sickness happens. It makes sure that you and your family don't go broke if you get seriously sick. So it's pretty clear that health insurance is really important for your finances. If you're working and your company has health insurance for workers, that's great. Joining a plan at work is usually cheaper than getting your own plan because your employer helps pay for it. But what if your company offers more than one plan? That can get a bit tricky. You'll need to look at how much each plan costs and what it covers. You also need to know how much you'll pay before the insurance starts paying, the rules for seeing specialist doctors, and what happens if you want to see a doctor who isn't part of the plan. Now, if your job doesn't have insurance, or you're self-employed or job hunting, you'll have to get insurance by yourself. But there's a workaround. If you're married and your spouse has work insurance, you could be added to their plan. Some companies also offer this to people who aren't married but live together. So even if it seems tough, there are ways to get protected. 2. Pay off your debt the smart way. Imagine you've got some money saved up. One of the best things you can do for your finances is to use that money to pay off loans, rather than saving or investing it. Why? Think about it like this. If you pay off a high-interest loan or credit card with a 15% rate, it's like earning 15% on an investment. Let's say you invest $100 in a stock, and over a year it earns a 15% return. At the end of the year, you'd have $115. Your original $100 plus $15 earned from the investment. Now, let's consider a debt scenario. If you have a credit card balance of $100 with a 15% interest rate, over a year you would owe $115 to the credit card company, your original $100 debt plus $15 in interest. So, if instead of investing that $100, you used it to pay off your credit card balance, you're essentially saving the $15 you would have had to pay in interest. In other words, using that $100 to pay off your debt is just as good as earning a 15% return on an investment. In both cases, you end up $15 ahead. This is why it's often a good idea to prioritize paying off high-interest debt before focusing on investments. The return you get from eliminating that interest often outpaces what you might earn through investments. Once you've paid off the 15% credit card, start making payments on other loans. 3. Start contributing to a tax-favored retirement savings plan. So you might think I'm crazy, but believe it or not, thinking about retirement when you're young is a great idea. If you're working for a company that gives you a retirement savings plan, jump on that opportunity. Here's why. In many countries, there are rules that make your employer match some of the money you put in your retirement plan. It's like your company is saying, for every dollar you save, we'll throw in an extra 50 cents or a dollar, up to a certain amount related to your salary. That's like getting free money or an instant 50% or 100% return. It's such a good deal that you might want to do this even before you pay off high-interest debt. On top of that, the government lets this money grow without taxing it. You might feel a bit unsure about locking your money away until retirement, but don't sweat it. Even though you can't touch the money until you're older, the perks of employer matching and tax-free growth are just too good to pass up. And if you can change jobs, don't worry. You can just move your retirement savings to your new employer's plan. Most plans even let you borrow money in case of an emergency. If your job doesn't offer a retirement plan, then starting an individual retirement account is a good move. 4. Build an emergency cushion using an automatic savings plan. If you're finding it nearly impossible to save money, don't worry, you're not alone. Most people face the same challenge. But here's a plan that could work for you. First, focus on clearing any high-interest debt. Then make sure you're covered with health insurance. After that, start saving for your retirement. Once that's in motion, aim to put aside enough money to cover 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses. A smart way to do this is to automatically deduct some money from each paycheck and put it straight into a savings account. It's like a nudge that helps you build a financial safety net without having to think too much about it. But there's a catch. The interest rates on savings accounts have been pretty low since the global financial crisis. Sometimes, something called a money market fund can offer better interest rates. It's nearly as safe as a regular savings account but tends to have a higher return. 5. Consider investing in stock and bond funds. After you've got a good size of money saved in a safe place like a bank account or a money market fund, you might want to think about taking a few more risks with your money. Why? Well, things like stocks and bonds often give higher returns over the long run, which helps you keep up with inflation. But remember, with bigger rewards come bigger risks. Stocks and bonds can be a bit of a gamble, and you can lose money on them. So if you're saving for something specific and soon, like a house deposit in a couple of years, maybe avoid stocks and bonds for that particular pot of money. It's up to you to decide how much risk you're comfortable with. There's an old rule of thumb you can use as a starting point. Take your age away from 100, and that's the percentage of your savings that could go into stocks. The rest can go into safer places like bonds and money market funds. Now, if you decide to dive into the world of stocks and bonds, consider doing it through funds. These are investments that pool together money from lots of people. Here are a few tips though. First, avoid funds that charge a load, which is basically a fee every time you put in or take out money. They don't tend to do any better than other funds, so why pay more? Second, keep an eye on the annual fees. High costs can really eat into your returns over time. Finally, consider investing in low-cost stock index funds or exchange-traded funds. They help spread your money across a range of investments, which can reduce your risk. If you're thinking about bond funds, safer options might be those that invest in government securities or highly rated companies. 6. Find out your credit score and improve it. Think of a credit score as a report card on how well you handle your money. It tells banks and lenders how risky it is to lend you money. It's based on info about you that's stored at the major credit record places, called credit bureaus. If you're in the US, you can get a free report from each bureau once a year. You should definitely check these reports to make sure everything's right. Your credit score is a bit like a GPA, showing lenders how responsible you are with money. The difference is, your credit score gets updated all the time. Why does this matter? Well, if you want a low-rate credit card, a car or home loan, to rent an apartment, or to get insurance, your credit score is super important. Before you apply for a loan, it's a good idea to check your credit scores from different bureaus. The higher your score, the better deals you'll get, so it's important to keep your score as high as possible. The biggest thing that affects your credit score is whether you pay your loans on time. Also important are how much credit you're using and how long you've had credit. The simplest way to keep your score in good shape is to set up automatic bill payments online. That way, you're less likely to forget a payment and accrue interest payments.